All right, what's going on, everyone? It's China Morning Post, SCMP MMA. It's Nick Atkin here. And of course, Chris Edwards Bailey is back. Chris, what's going on?
Back again. I'm all good. Pretty happy. The weather here in Hong Kong has got a little bit cooler. It's got a little bit chilly, but that's nice. Can walk around fast on my errands with my jeans on without getting a sweat.
Yeah, it looks like a thunderstorm or something outside. I just checked the window, but I like
Yeah.
that. As I said to someone else, my colleague, at least my roof is about to get washed for free. So that's cool. Yeah. And my plants will get watered. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. There's always
Yeah, well, look, yeah. Silver lining. All right, yeah, we were just waiting for John's show to finish, so hope you all enjoyed that. And now we are gonna preview UFC 259. We're gonna make our picks and predictions using the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. Chris, for anyone who doesn't know, what is Fanatics all about? Where can they get it?
in the App Store, in the Play Store, anywhere you can find it online. MMA Fanatics, Fantasy MMA, fantastic app, great for records. You can find links to great articles written by some people in their team. You get links to SCMP MMA, links to our videos. It's awesome. You can create groups with your friends. It's pretty much fantasy, and it's done on a monthly basis. Includes you can do one championship, Bellator, and the UFC. You can create groups, have a chat in there, have some banter. You can go just on win percentage. You can go on your record. You can go versus Vegas, where it's as if you've got virtual money. And at the end of every month, you're either plus or negative. Last month, me and Nick did not do so well.
You had
but
to bring it up.
it is good fun. The Reddit community, the Twitter community, the SCMP MMA community are all on there. Feel free to join us. Just good banter, good insights. And yeah, just a really good way to connect people and connect with your friends.
Well, let's show them what it's all about. I'm gonna bring it up here. I've messed that up. Still can't figure out my own buttons. Here we are. Yeah, look, they made me this little browser. These dudes over at Fanatics, great guys. And we're going to be previewing One Championship Fists of Fury 2 a little bit later on this afternoon. But for now, we're here for 259, aren't we, Chris? And
Yeah.
Drake is over in Las Vegas for SCMP MMA. He was on the ground this morning for the media day, and he's in the middle of uploading all those videos for us, so he cannot join us on the podcast. I'm sure he's watching or listening in some form, or here with us in spirit.
Oh,
The big
definitely.
rig. But he's made his picks already. You can see them there. But Chris and I, we're going to do it now live for you using Fanatics. So let's start that big main event, Chris. Let's, no further ado, Jan Blachowicz against Israel Adesanya. This is gigantic and very tough to pick. You need to convince me here because I am completely on the fence.
Well, this is absolutely gigantic. I mean, on a pure MMA perspective, it's probably the biggest fight since probably Conor Khabib. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a fantastic card. It's stacked from the top to the bottom. And you've just got the Polish power himself, Jan Blachowicz.
Legendary Polish power.
The legendary Polish power, Jan Blachowicz, with his hangman's noose ready to go.
What
And
the
then
hell
you've
is
got Stylebender himself, Israel Adesanya, out of Auckland, New Zealand, city kickboxing via Nigeria. He's just in the last few years come into the UFC, taken the UFC, the middleweight division, and the whole sport as a whole by storm. And it's absolutely salivating. It's probably the best champ fight I think we've ever had. We've got two people who are at the absolute pinnacle, and for the first time, we have someone who is going to become a champ who has an O at the end of their record. No one has ever become a champ who is undefeated. So this is unprecedented what Israel Adesanya is attempting to do, particularly in such a small time in the sport of MMA. It's so hard to pick this fight because I go back and forward. It'll be really interesting to see what Adesanya weighs in at. I think he'll probably come just under the limit. I think he'll come about 202, 203. He hasn't got to cut so much to get to the weight. And then you've got Jan, who's just so big. And people do forget how good Jan's footwork is. He's got phenomenal boxing skills. He's great at distance, great at counter punching. And as Luke Rockhold and many others can attest, the power that he holds in them hands can just knock almost anyone out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't know who to pick, Chris.
Yeah, it is so hard to pick. Look, if I was a gambling man, you'd be doing some sort of hedge where you'd stick a load of money on Adesanya, maybe on the decision, by knockout. Is this going to the ground? I don't think so. We're going to see a submission. I think it's unlikely. They're both very, very good takedown defense, so we don't really see either of them actively going in for takedowns in their previous fights. It's just going to be barnstorming. I think Israel, it could be a little bit slow to start off with. Israel will probably try and control the pace of the fight. I think he'll actually try and do what he did to Paulo Costa, and he will try and frustrate. And then when he frustrates and someone makes a mistake, because he is so precise, he can just get that finish and change the fight so quickly. But then every time I think about that, I just think, if he catches Izzy, I mean, Izzy does have one hell of a chin on him. He's never ever lost, I believe, in his whole fighting career to someone within his weight class, or maybe only once or twice. I mean, most of his losses in kickboxing were at heavyweight or light heavyweight, in a higher weight class. But the nature of the greatest MMA fantasy app out there, Fanatics, is you can get 3 times if you can choose the decision. So you know what? I'm going to kind of game myself over these 3 title fights with the triple multiplier. I'm going to go for one shock. I'm going to go for one that's expected, and then I'm going to back one favorite big. And on this, I just have a feeling that the size difference, is he moving up so much in weight? And it's just something to add to the story of Jan Blachowicz, where, even 2-3 years ago, relatively unknown, even within the UFC. He went 2-4 in his first 6 fights. And I think for him to arguably get a finish against the biggest star in the UFC right now, bar Conor McGregor, will just add another layer to this story, another chapter to the book, maybe a sequel to the movie. I'm going to back Jan Blachowicz to win by knockout and do the shock of the night. Well,
you're not in the majority here, Chris, on the app. Israel Adesanya has been picked by 75% of people on Fanatics. Go download the app, guys, if you haven't already. As you see, Chris's pick is in. He's swung left. The Vegas bookies have Adesanya as a -235 favorite. It's pretty even with SCMP MMA group again. Not even, I mean, it's the same as the app as a whole. Majority of people going for Izzy. If you get Blachowicz and he wins, you will win a lot of points. It's triple or nothing on these main events if you're brave enough to pick a method of victory. Chris has gone for what you got there, a finish, a TKO.
Yeah,
oh my god, TKO. That is brave. I'm so on the fence. I do not know who to pick. I do not know. I might flip flop on this before the event starts. I'm going for Adesanya TKO. And I think that I'm also thinking Blachowicz could do the same, or he could get a decision. I'm really, really in 2 minds. Let us know what you think if you're watching in the comments. Eddie the Blazing is here.
It's What's so hard to choose. I keep going between the two of them. The thing with Jan Blachowicz is I was just watching his fights earlier, and you watch the TKO against Dominic Reyes. You watch that KO against Corey Anderson, the knockout of Luke Rockhold. You go back a few years ago to even the Latifi KO, and he has that Polish power. Do you know what I mean?
But Israel Adesanya is not Luke Rockhold, Ilir Latifi. He is
not
a level above these guys. He's arguably top 3. He is top 3 pound for pound right now. He's getting to the GOAT conversation. If he wins this, he's right in there.
And it all depends how Israel fights the fight, because I think he will be like against more like Yoel and Paulo Costa. I think he will be elusive and try and frustrate him, because look, he can't fight Jan like the way he did Gastelum. because he cannot let Jan hit his face as many times as he let Gastelum. That is the one thing I will say.
I just think Israel Adesanya knows something we don't, and his coaches know something we don't, and he has this mystique about him, which maybe gives his opponents a false sense of security. And I'm sure they've got a game plan here to deal with Jan. And I love Jan, and I love his story. And ESPN did a very good article on him, I think it was, and just the whole redemption of his whole career. And I hate to pick against Jan. He's a friend of the show. You know, he always gives his time for JHK for those interviews. I hate to do you dirty there, Jan, but I've just think Israel slightly in my gut. I'm feeling something there.
Yeah, it does have a bit of a shades of Bisping and GSP, where you have a Jan and you have the Bisping, someone older in the tooth, someone who is a GOAT of their era. Bisping is actually a GOAT, but Jan is more of a GOAT of the era. Then you have them coming up against like an all-time GOAT, irrespective of era, and that is it. You know what? If we would have done this podcast tomorrow, an hour later, I could have gone for Israel Adesanya. I think, look, if I was betting and I was going on the odds, I think Jan being not the favorite, the underdog, that would be what would tip me. You know, because Izzy is a pretty big favorite in this, but we are just in for an absolute barn burner of a fight. I think it's like the biggest UFC event. It's got to be since, what was it, 2016? Was the last truly, truly big one with this many title fights, but it's been a long time.
Well, we had the one last July on Fight Island. I think Masvidal Usman, 3 title fights there. I think easily the biggest since that card. Or as you say, I think it was 217, Bisping and GSP, Madison Square Garden, 3 title fights. Definitely has the feel of one of those. Or December 2019, 3 title fights. I love these cards.
Yeah.
But I think this main event really is bigger than Usman, Masvidal. It's bigger than Bisping, GSP. This is for all the marbles, literally, isn't it?
Yeah,
this is a huge fight. I think it's going to be a big buy rate on this pay-per-view.
100%.
And if Adesanya wins, this is his coronation, I think.
Oh, that puts him into that upper echelon of GOAT status. It makes him era-defining if he can get that second belt. Because right now, he is one of the best to ever do it, but he's not. You can't compare him to a Anderson Silva, a GSP, those people with those long title reigns, or people like Randy Couture, where they got the title, they lost it, they came back, they moved divisions. But he's certainly on his way, and if he can do this, he will be solidifying himself in that GOAT conversation. And I guess, talking about GOATs, we can move on to the next fight.
Yes, let's do it. Let's go down the card. All right. Amanda Nunez against Megan Anderson. The women's featherweight title is on the line. The champ, the GOAT, the female GOAT, Amanda Nunez.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
It's not just the women's bantamweight title that is on the line in this fight. Because anyone who has been following SCMP...
Sorry, they've put featherweight here. I just read it. It is the bantamweight belt. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's no problem. But for anyone who has been following SCMP MMA and the whole crew on Twitter or in the chat, you will know that there's something else on the line in this fight. If Megan Anderson does not win in the first round, Drake Riggs will be getting a tattoo of a GOAT. That's bigger than any UFC title, in my opinion.
Just a GOAT, Chris. It's a GOAT with Nunez's face on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're listening, Big Rig, we're going to hold you to that.
We are going to hold you to that, Big Rig. Definitely. I mean, look, Megan Anderson, I think it is actually going to be a bit more of a challenge than people are estimating. For probably the first time, you probably have to go back really to the Cyborg fight. That Nunez is really fighting someone who is both probably wider than her and taller than her. She's actually fighting for the first time since the Cyborg fight someone who is probably a legitimate bantamweight, not someone coming up. Megan Anderson is good. I think She turned the fight down a few fights back. I think turning that down probably worked in her favor. She's been able to go and hone her craft, and I do think she's a top fighter. But I just have to say, I'm just such a big fan of Amanda Nunez. I think she's the best woman we've ever seen do it. She's the most complete. I mean, look, the only woman that probably comes close to her, in my opinion, in terms of achievements is Valentina Shevchenko and probably Chris Cyborg, and she has wins over both of them. This is the give me of the night. I just feel Amanda Nunez at some point is just going to run through her. I think it's going to be about third round, and I think she's going to finish her by KO TKO. I don't see this going the full 5 rounds, and I don't see Amanda taking it down to the ground. There's a possibility if she gets hurt, she might just go and finish it. But I have to back Amanda to go out there and get the KO.
91% of people on Fanatics, Chris, have picked Amanda Nunez. You're going with them too. I'm joining you there, and I'm going for a KO or TKO. It's my method of victory. I'm all in for triple or nothing, baby.
Well, you just look at those odds. Minus 1100. I mean, and plus 670. I mean, what Matsura, I think, was about plus 700, plus 800. That's the biggest ever upset in a title fight. So it does give you an idea of what Megan Anderson is up against here. Fantastic girl. Hope she can really go and give her a good fight. I wish her all the best of luck.
Yes. But as we always say, Chris, if you get that upset right, you'll be flying. You'll be untouchable on that leaderboard.
Wow, yeah.
For the event. And we'll be showing the leaderboard, guys, after the event on Sunday. And we'll also be having it for the One Championship show on Friday.
Yeah.
And we got a group, about over 100 people in there now. So join the group. The link is in the description down there. Get involved. Start picking. It's fun. There's a chat group in there as well where everyone just takes the piss out of me for not being very good at picking fights. But we got more. Sorry, go ahead.
What makes the app so fun is you can literally be losing almost every fight of the night. And if you have Megan Anderson to win by KO or by submission, you're going to plus 2,000 to your score, which is going to get you straight back into the green. And judging by how we tend to do as a group on the app, would probably get you into the top 10 based on that single result on Megan Anderson alone, on the basis that everyone else is going to lose their money backing Amanda Nunez.
Eddie in the chat has a weird feeling, but he's still got Amanda. Anyone got Megan Anderson? You tell us now. Let us know. Tell us how and why. Give your reasoning. But otherwise, we're going to move on to the third title fight on this huge stack card. Piotr against Germain Sterling, the UFC bantamweight title. Another bantamweight title here on the line. Chris, I'm going to let you try and convince me. I'm the fence as well in this one. 2 of these title fights out of 3, I really didn't know who to pick. I mean, my gut says Jan, but a lot of people are saying don't sleep on Germain, the Funk Master.
Yeah, see, this is absolutely so hard. I'm a big Aljo fan, you know. He comes out with that Jamaican flag, you know. With my dad, with my family, you know, it does make the blood rise. It makes me happy. It makes me proud of those Jamaican roots. It reminds me of when I first watched the movie Cool Runnings, and it brought a tear to my eye.
Still brings a tear to my eye every time.
And it's so hard to choose, though, because Jan is such a beast. He has almost absolutely no chinks in his armor. He's an absolute beast of a boxer. He's got a solid ground game. His history in martial arts is absolutely fantastic. Coming straight from Siberia, getting his whole university degree over there, becoming an official master of boxing, recognized by the Russian government, top amateur pedigree, a top competitor. If I believe so, I think both of his parents as well came from martial arts backgrounds. And as well, he is training at Tiger Muay Thai with George Hickman and the Hickman brothers, good friends of the show. And I think of Aljo.
Right? I just watched Embedded or Countdown yesterday, and I think he's not been able to go to Tiger Muay Thai for this camp. He's
No,
had
he's
to
been based
travel to the
out in
States. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
And then I look at Aljamain Sterling, and then I think of particularly his most recent performances, the Cody Stamen results, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, that absolute lightning fast submission of Corey Sandhagen, the Cody Stamen fight with the Sulawesi stretch that he does there. You forget that this guy is a top wrestler, top jiu-jitsu, and he's got quick hands, he's got good kicks. And the thing is, if Peter Yan does take him down, do you know what he's going to have in his ear? He is going to have the boisterous tones of Matt Serra shouting across the cage with jiu-jitsu instructions like a New York taxi driver.
yeah.
And, you know, and the thing is, as well, is sometimes if you listen to Matt Serra, he even says sometimes to his fighters, he changes what he's saying. So he might say one thing, but be meaning the other thing, and they'll agree on it between rounds or before the fight. So that can throw you in every way. You know, they're pretty much even when it comes to the odds for this one. I have to follow my heart, because if I don't back my man Aljo now, when can I back him? So I'm going to back Aljamain Sterling. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hedge this one. I'm going to be a boring Billy, and I'm not going to do a triple or nothing on this fight.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just going to go straight for Aljamain, because I'm going to just support him, and I don't care how he wins, just as long as he gets that gold round his belt. And hopefully, when the world's cleared up, he can get on that plane to Montego Bay or Kingston International and bring that UFC gold back to Jamaica.
I'm ashamed of you, Chris. Not for picking Aljamain, but for not going for a triple or nothing. A cowardly act, if I've ever seen one. I am going for Peter Yan, and I'm taking the KO, the TKO. I think this guy is something special, and we're going to see him go on like a 6-7 year run or something crazy before he just retires. You can see how young he is still. He's 28.
Yeah.
It's madness. And he's barely been in the UFC for a couple of years, right? But he's violent as hell. When he first turned up in the UFC, my colleague, my freelancer Matt Scott, just said, watch this guy. He's something special. Everyone at Tiger says he's future champ. And yeah, it came true, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's just something different. He hits harder.
My only problem is I think Aljamain Sterling kind of has the better names, has been fighting at a higher level earlier on, you know, fighting a Sun Xiao, fighting Marlon Moraes, Hanan Barao, Cody Stamen, all these guys. Well, when you do look at Peter Yan, he has got to that title very, very fast, and he is a great, great fighter. Don't get me wrong, but, you know, when he fought John Dodson a little bit past it. Then he got Jimmy Rivera, who's been a little bit down on the hill, followed by Uriah Faber, Jose Aldo, who, name-wise, fantastic fighters, but they aren't what they used to be, and we can all admit that. So, I mean, for both of them, I think this is the biggest test of both their careers.
Yep. I mean, if Aljamain could get his back like he did with Sandhagen, could be over in a minute. But 67% of people, Chris, on the app, on Fanatics, have picked Yan. Aljamain is 33%. You're right. The odds are pretty close there. I've just got a feeling I'm Yan. But look, as I said, as I say every week, I'm not very good at picking these things, and I do not do very well. So you don't have to listen to me. You can listen to Chris.
Out of the 3 title fights, this is the one most likely to probably get fired tonight. And this is probably the one most likely to go to a decision, I believe. If I had to choose out of the 3, it is the most likely to go to a decision.
Yeah. Just what a card, isn't it? I mean, even you take these 3 title fights off, we're about to go through the rest of them. Some of these are pay-per-view worthy on their own. Some of them are fight night, main event worthy. Some of the prelims you could have put on a main event. On a main card of a pay-per-view, and some of these prelims could headline a fight night. I mean, Dominic Cruz isn't even on the main card, right? It's madness.
That's absolutely crazy.
But we'll get to the Dominator soon. We'll just go in reverse chronological or whatever.
If I do believe, just to give you an idea of how good this card is, I think this is the first time in about a decade Dominic Cruz hasn't main evented or co-main event of the card. Never mind being on the main card. I think it's the first time in about a decade. So it does give you an idea of how good and how big a card this is.
Well, Poto Baggins thinks Dom belongs on the prelims. Throwing some shade there at the Dominator, former champ. Drake would not be happy with you, Mr. Baggins. He is such a Cruz fanboy, isn't he?
Oh,
to live his dream by seeing Cruz fight in person. We'll get to him in a minute, but Islam Makhachev and Drew Dober. We've been waiting for Makhachev for ages to fight.
Yeah.
There's all the hype around him. You know, Khabib training partner. Daniel Cormier is bigging him up as the next champ or the eventual champ. Khabib is bigging him up as the next champ. This is a huge fight for him, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And this is just, in my opinion, just another step forward. Drew Dober is a great, great fighter. He has another level of resistance to add. I mean, thing is, Islam has been slightly inactive during his time in the UFC. He hasn't fought in over 2 years. Probably going back. You have to go back a while. Probably Nick Lentz or Gleason Tibauer's best win. So he really needs to start fighting ranked fighters. And Drew Dober is certainly just a push. Islam is ranked. I think this is just to get him more active, and then he can really start pushing on into that top 10 of fighters. This is only going to go one way. I mean, Islam Makhachev, could he be the fifth king of AKA? Who knows? He's certainly got all the skills. I think too many people make the Khabib comparison. I think he's very similar to Khabib. I think his mentality and the way he approaches fights, but his style is not really as wrestling heavy as Khabib. He is much more a stand-up fighter, but he does just have that Dagestani mentality. He has that, just that rough upbringing, that different way of life, the relatively clean living they have over there. They take life very, very serious because they have to have a very, very serious life. True Dober, I think he will offer some really, really good resistance. He has solid wrestling. He's got one hell of a cardio on him. He's got fantastic training partners over at Team Elevation. But for this one, I'm just going to go with the guy himself. I'm going to go with Islam.
Yes, I'm not going to go for the underdog here. As much as I'm tempted to sometimes to get those points, I do not think there'll be an upset here, Chris. And so do the majority of Fanatics users. 86% of users on the app are picking Islam. I'm going to join them. I'm going to join you and Drake. I'm swinging over to the left there. I think, the Vegas bookies agree with us. Not much else to say, but this is definitely not an easy fight, Chris, is it? Drew Dober.
Oh,
but I think we're going to see is if Islam is the real deal here.
Oh, 100%. Definitely just what he needs, but he also just needs to get himself back fighting, man. You can't take 2 years out of this game. He's 29 now. He needs to start fighting regularly if he really wants to push on for that champion, because as we've seen at lightweight, unless you are someone like a Donald Cerrone who can keep on going for years, he's got the best part of a decade in front of him for sure, but you want to try and get there as fast and maximize your value.
Yeah. All right. Some comments here. Mr. Baggins explaining why he doesn't like Dom. Says he's washed up. Bet 1,000 says he loses and should retire or be cut. I liked Dom till he tried putting the great Keith Peterson down. Keith was not drunk. That's hogwash.
That's true.
By the way, you guys are great. Deserve more eyes. Thank you so much. We love all of the kind words people give us. We got Drake over in Vegas right now. I'm hoping he can pick up some eyes for us over there, live on the ground. But we'll just keep doing what we do out here in Asia at the moment. We can't get to any shows.
Yeah.
We'll see. But Keith Peterson, Chris, I kind of agree with Poto there.
Yeah, that's okay. Dominic Cruz is a top competitor. He doesn't want to say he lost. It was slightly an early stoppage. He was still getting back to his feet or on his feet. And it's okay for him to be a sore loser because, look, maybe him being a sore loser, wrestling his whole life is what got him that good. We shouldn't really question it, like his mentality, because everyone's going to have a different mentality. Like, there are always going to be fighters who are gracious in defeat, and there are always going to be sore losers. you know, and you do have to remember, this is a guy with only 3 losses on his record who's been around so long. And yeah, he is coming off 2 losses, but they're to Cody Garbrandt and Henry Cejudo, you know. You know, he's only ever been knocked out once in his life, and that was the Cejudo one, and that was slightly dubious. I mean, he was submitted once, but, you know, it does give you an idea that he is just an absolutely fantastic fighter. And just to move on to this fight, I can't remember to start a main card where we've had such a good fight. It has been a while.
Yeah, Thiago Santos and Alexander Rakic. Oh, my goodness. This is a huge fight.
Yeah.
Rakic looked very good, didn't he, Chris, against Anthony Smith? And it was a close one against Volkan. Santos coming off that loss to Glover, which I was surprised by. Glover continuing this magic run. Because I thought Santos arguably beat John Jones. How do you pick this one? It's pretty close again, isn't it?
I mean, this is practically a number 1 contenders fight, in all honesty. I mean, I know Glover is the number 1 contender. I mean, by the time you were to win and stay up, it'll probably be the winner of this fight versus Glover for the belt. It will be well deserved. I just have a bad feeling that at some level, Glover's going to get screwed over by the UFC, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I just see it coming. I'm not sure. I hope he gets the title shot, or at least an interim. That's why I keep saying make an interim, because Glover does deserve it, especially at his age. But yeah, we've got Thiago Santos, Rakic. I think Thiago Santos is ranked number 2 right now in the UFC rankings. Alexander Rakic ranked number 4. So obviously, top fight. Thiago Santos isn't just look. He's got a hammer on his tattooed on his chest. Of course, he's an absolute beast and a madman. And then you've got Rakic, just another great fighter coming out of the Balkans and Southern Europe, from that whole region. Fantastic kickboxing pedigree, fantastic takedown defense. He is what we are seeing in this, particularly the heavyweights of middleweight, like heavyweight and heavyweight, where we're getting a lot of European, Eastern European fighters. You can even see it sometimes in even someone like Darren Till style, Rakic, Yuri Prokocha. Adesanya kind of has a similar style with the kickboxer background, where they have really good takedown defense, and they're really good at keeping the fight standing, using their distance, using their reach. Lots of it damage by accumulation. They've all got knockout power. For me in this one, I am just slightly going with Alexander Rakic. I am well and truly on the Rakic train. I mean, not only is he getting quite big as a star in his Austria, where he's grown up, but also the place, I don't know if he was born there or where his parents come from, but he's all over the Balkans. He's become a big name. Serbia, Croatia, etc. He's got a really big following over there. In that part of the world, people really want to see their fighters go on and do well. And I'm on that train. Choo. So I'm going to back Rakic.
Yes, I saw Rakic fight Volkan in Busan, Korea. And the guy did crazy numbers on the pre-fight interviews we did with him. And then even his fans hate-watched the interview with Volkan before the fight. And they hate-watched the press conference with Volkan after he won. This guy's got a big following, like Chris said, in that Eastern European area. So
yeah,
they'll have a lot of support there. And he's been... Sorry, go ahead.
And he is so good at controlling fights, controlling distance. I just remember that Ozdemir fight. I thought Rakic won. What was your opinion on it? Because you were there.
It's one of those fights where you're not unhappy if either guy wins, and I don't think Volkan was a clear winner. I don't think Rakic was a clear winner. I didn't have any complaints with either guy getting it, but definitely wasn't any shame in that for Rakic, and it didn't do him any harm.
If it would have been a draw, you wouldn't have complained.
Yeah. I think that would have been fair. I don't think it set Rakic back at all. If anything, it probably did him better because he got the Smith fight and he looked a dominant guy there. And maybe if he'd got Yuri Prochazka, if he'd beaten Volkan, maybe Yuri would have beaten him and he wouldn't be in this spot now, where arguably I think he might be better positioned than Yuri. You never know if Yuri and Reyes is ever going to happen. It keeps getting pulled off. And if Yuri beats Reyes, he might put himself in the picture for a Glover interim title fight. But it's an interesting mix right now, isn't it, in this?
Oh yeah,
division.
100%, and definitely for Thiago Santos, if he was to lose this, it'd be a really, really hard way back to the title because obviously he lost to John Jones, and then straight after that, he lost to Glover Teixeira, who is the #1 contender. Then you'd assume Rakic will go above him if he were to win, so you'd kind of be locked out, and you'd kind of be looking to fight someone coming off a loss after that. So the loser of this could surely slip down the rankings just a touch. But
Yeah,
fantastic fight and another fight the night contender, I think.
play to play for. I haven't actually made my pick. Sorry. Let me do that now. I'm going for Rakic. I'm on the train. Choo choo. There we go. Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. But only 45% of people on the app have picked Rakic. So 55 with Thiago, obviously. Even though the bookies are favoring Rakic, so plenty of people smelling the upset there, Chris.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm not one of them. I'm going with Rakic. So's Drake, big rig. Jasmine is in bed, I think, so hasn't made her picks because she lives in Georgia in Europe.
Yeah.
Or she might be awake now. She's going to be on us for the One Championship preview later this afternoon. All you Jasmine simps out there. Dominic Cruz now, and Casey Kenny. We talked a little bit about.
This is the thing. This is us moving on to the prelims. This is the main event of the prelims. But I mean, if you were just to read down this: Dominic Cruz, Casey Kenny, Kyler Phillips, Song Yadong, Joseph Benavidez, Askar Askarov, Kai Kara France, Rogerio Bonatorin. This is good enough for a fight night. I don't want to put down any fight nights we've had recently, but I can think of this prelims where it's actually a better card than actual fight nights we've had in the last year. And I'm not even just saying that to COVID. Pre-COVID, this will be better than a lot of fight nights, I believe.
Do you think they stacked it this hard because it's that first one on the new Chinese deal with China Mobile, Migu? It's the first pay-per-view, first live event there. And it's no coincidence Song Yadong's there, right?
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the schedule going forward, talking of the Migu deal from pretty much now until 261. I think there's only one event, I think, right now that's listed that doesn't have a Chinese fighter on it. So they're obviously had this deal in the works, and they've decided to early stack it with some Chinese fighters to hopefully get some great content out there. And hopefully, if Migu or the UFC are listening, send some Chinese fighters our ways. You know, we are the South China Morning Post.
That's it. All right. Well, we spoke a little bit about Cruz already, so let's just go straight in. Casey Kenny here. He's been on a roll, hasn't he, Chris? He's the favorite.
100%. The man fighting out of Indiana. I think he's still with Rise Gym. Coming off a win from Nathaniel Wood. He's got some decent wins on his record. Louis Smoker, Ray Borg, Brandon Royval, all really, really top fighters. 29. And then he's coming against Dominic Cruz. And the thing is, Dominic Cruz is a legend of the game. He's one of the best ever fighters of all time. He's got a fantastic record. He did have a huge run with the title in the WEC, carried on into the UFC, is pretty much exclusively fought for titles over his last 12, 15 fights, I'd have to say. The last time he didn't was the Mizugaki fight, and then I think before then you have to go back to WEC days. We might not even be in the 2010s then. But it's so hard to say because, you know, Dominic Cruz has obviously had the Cejudo fight last year, and then you have to go back to 2016 when he fought Cody Garbrandt, and then I think he has 3 fights in 2016. Cody Garbrandt, Uriah Faber, TJ Dillashaw. 2 years before that, Mizugaki in 2014, and then 2011. So he's had big times off. It's hard to know the fight we're going to see. He does have injury problems. There is always the possibility of him getting injured. This is such a hard fight to call. I think it's actually either going to go one of 2 ways. Dominic Cruz is going to have a really tough 3 rounds. He might get injured, or he might have some problems. He might have some ring rust, which he says is not real, and he has proven it throughout his career that it's not real for him. Or we are just going to see Dominic Cruz just put it on him, and it's going to be over in the first round because he just has that experience. He's one of the best to ever do it. And you know what? Sometimes experience wins out. I'm going to back Dominic Cruz.
Oh, I see. Well, Lapido Light 2009 also thinks Cruz is done. I don't think Cruz is necessarily done, but I'm going to go for Casey Kenny. I think this kid's pretty damn good. He absolutely obliterated Alateng Haley. Oh, just the state of Alateng after that fight was mad. Showed how tough he was, but he took a real beating there. I think I wouldn't say necessarily Cruz is done, but if he loses this, Chris, is that the end for him? Will he just probably hang it up because there's probably no way back to a title shot?
My only thing with Dominic Cruz out there is he still has the name. He could always go again, maybe one more time with Uriah Faber. He could give TJ the opportunity of a rematch. Cody Garbrandt's still out there. And the one thing I would actually like to say is, and what is really odd, and we'll get to it in a minute further down the fight card, is we've kind of got a fight that's a number one contenders fight for one person and not for the other person because they've had so many opportunities. Of course, the fight I'm talking about is Benavidez versus Askar Askarov. And what I'm going to say is, if Dominic Cruz loses and Benavidez was to lose, two legends, absolutely great. They're not washed up, but they're just outside that top 5. I think that would be a great fight to make. It could co-main maybe a pay-per-view, could definitely be on the main card of the pay-per-view, could probably main event a fight night for sure. That would be a good move forward. I mean, it is really, really tough to say because, we've seen so little of Dominic Cruz in the last 5-6 years.
Do you think Dominic Cruz will want to hang around and keep doing this if he loses when he's got, that nice gig on the analyst booth? It's an easy way to make good money. He doesn't have to fight anymore. And you see the preparation he puts in and the dedication. He really puts himself through the paces for a fight camp.
Yeah, definitely 100%. But I'm not saying I don't think he should be like Overeem and be like one more title run, but I'd much rather see him go and fight a Benavidez and go out like that and have a good competitive fight with someone his own age. But he could go out there and win this weekend. I'm actually backing him. So, obviously he has something left in him. He hasn't done everything he wanted to do in the cage. You do think of some people out there who maybe did retire a little bit too young or weren't as active and who maybe do regret it, or people who had the opportunity taken away from them, like a Dan Hardy, who does just want to come back for one fight, just have the opportunity to like finish your career and retire and end everything. So I have absolutely nothing against it. Fight on, DC, fight on.
That Peter Light in the comments says, to be honest, Cruz kind of sucks as a commentator too. Hopefully he goes to Bellator. Well, look, Kenny is the slight favorite on Fanatics, but only 25% of people have picked him. 75 for Cruz. This is one of those fights, isn't it? Well, let's move on. Oh, you had to mention, sorry, Overeem. And JDS.
Yeah, we'll add that all in at the end.
Yeah, we'll add it in. But my heart breaks.
100%.
We'll finish our picks first. We'll finish these picks. Okay. Song Yadong. Let's get to the Kung Fu Monkey Chris against Kyler Matrix Phillips. Two great nicknames here. Two great fighters.
Yeah, and
let's break it down. Who you got?
Kyler Phillips is such an interesting fighter. I love his nickname. If anyone wants to check out SCMP, have a fantastic interview where, what is it he says he wants to do to Song Yadong? Is it he wants to disconnect him from the Matrix? Is that what he said? Something along those lines?
Oh, I thought that was just John making a pun or a play on words in the headline. But if he actually said that, wow.
Yes. So, it is the Matrix Reloaded out here. Fantastic fight. It's so good as well. These two guys, so young, and especially you look at Song Yadong, he's had over 20 fights and he's just barely 23. He's got so much more to go ahead of him. obviously Callum Phillips is coming out of the LFA. I think he's only had one fight in the UFC, maybe two. He fought Gabriel Silva a few years ago. He's pretty strong, pretty solid. He's got absolutely great wrestling, Callum Phillips. Great striking, fast hands. But I'm sorry, I have to back the Kung Fu Monkey himself, the man out of Harbin, China, Song Yadong, because we are the South China Morning Post. I do feel a lot of these Chinese fighters moving over to Team Alpha Male in particular, I think it is helping them level up. And as well, I think it must be a very, very good environment because it keeps attracting Chinese fighter after Chinese fighter after Chinese fighter. I don't know if they have translators there or where it's located. There's a strong Chinese community, but I guess it's one of those things where, that's why you kind of do have like a Chinatown or parts of the place that are dedicated, because probably the first guy went there and was like, oh, it's such a good environment to train. I like it here. The news spread and more Chinese fighters are going out there. They seem to be leveling up out there, probably getting a little bit more maybe best practices. And then combining that with when they're back in China, with their ability to use the Performance Institute in China, which is a fantastic opportunity. But for this, I have got to back my boy, Song Yadong. China.
Yeah. Good interview with Song Yadong by Matt Scott from South China Morning Post, one of my freelancers, where he talks a lot about how he's been learning from the Leech in particular, as Chris was mentioning. Yeah. There's a little crew building there at Team Alpha Male. They're all training together, they're living together, getting better together. Really interesting stuff. Go check it out, scmp.com/MMA. It should be up there. I'm with Chris. I cannot pick against the Kung Fu Monkey out of loyalty. We got to back our Chinese fighters. We are the South China Morning Post. And I also like him. Very nice dude, very nice fighter. I think he's also very, I think he's a future. I mean, what is he now? 13, 14. He has been a little bit lucky, you could say, with the Stamen fight in particular, being a draw. But I think he actually beat Chito Vera. I mean, Chito didn't think that, but it wasn't the robbery that it was presented as.
I did 2 rounds to 1 to Song Yadong. I thought he won the fight very clearly. I think the Chito Vera result was really, really good for him. And I think this is just to keep him busy. And obviously, we've got this big Migu deal. So obviously, they want a good Chinese fighter to fight him because, Kyler Phillips hasn't got the same experience as Song in the UFC. Only his third run out in the organization. He's not even ranked. I would have preferred Song to probably be fighting. I think he's ranked 13th or 14th, with Chito ranked 15th. I would like to see him fight someone around 10th, but I guess he's going to fight, stay active. He's still young. He's got years to really go on that run that we all expect of him.
Yeah, and Song Yadong, I think you could argue the best chance for another Chinese champion in the UFC, or is Sumu Derji ahead of him, the Tibetan Eagle?
Probably Sumu Derji. He looks really, really well-rounded. Being from the area of China, he's from I don't know how to say it, the traits of their ethnicity and their actual historical cultural games over there. Wrestling is very, very big. He's got fantastic wrestling, fantastic defense, as well as the great, great stand-up background that a lot of these Chinese fighters have.
Yeah, and Poto pointing out he's from Sacramento. There's a good amount of Chinese people there. Maybe that's the reason they all like training there as well. Simbarash saying, you guys doing a fantastic job. You're going to blow up. Trust me. Thank you again for the kind words. We really appreciate it. But there's so many fights, Chris. Yeah. We gotta keep going here.
Well, look at this. And can I say one thing about this next fight? This is slightly disrespectful, isn't it? A little bit to the smaller guys out here. I mean, I know people don't always find the flyweights totally interesting. And we know Figgy is next up against Brandon Moreno in the near future, probably on Fight Island. But to have the next fight, Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov, this far down a card when they are ranked number 2 and number 3 respectively. And I know Benavidez is coming off a loss in title fight, but this should be higher up on the card, in my opinion, because they are so close to title contention. We're
I
never
think it
going to
would
see the
be,
number 2 and 3 heavyweights kicking off the prelims, are we?
yeah, I think it would be higher on any other card, but they just really wanted to stack this one. I think because of the Migu deal, they really wanted to go all out and put on a show. So I'm not gonna give them too much shit about this.
Yeah.
And look, it's cool. We get so many good fights.
Yeah.
If it was a weak main card and this was on the prelims, I would be angrier, yes. But I think, look, let's just enjoy it. We got this.
Yeah. If this fight was out in Russia, maybe it would be headlining a fight night in Moscow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many other cards this could headline.
And what makes this fight so interesting is I love Joseph Benavidez, but I think his time is up going for the belt because he's had so many opportunities. I mean, what is it? 4 title fights has he lost? 2 title eliminators he's lost. Fantastic fighter. He's got more losses in title fights than he's got losses out of title fights, which shows you the caliber of fighter he is. And this, what I said, is that makes this fight so strange is if Askarov wins, he becomes the number 1 contender as long as we don't need the trilogy in Moreno Figgy because he's ranked number 3. If he was to beat Benavidez number 2, we have to assume he's the number 1 contender after Moreno and Benavidez fight. But if Benavidez wins, and no matter how he wins or how dominant he wins, he's not going to get that number 1 title shot. I'm sorry to say. It is a number 1 title shot just for Askarov. I think he's a beast. I think the decision's moving on. Look, we had the fighter leave the UFC today, Alistair Overeem. He is in the argument for the best fighters to never win a bout. So is this man right here, Joseph Benavidez. I think there's going to be a war. I think it's going to be absolutely great. Straight up, great way to kick off the prelims to everyone out there, depending if it's on TV where you live, whether it's on Fight Pass. It's going to be a good way to start the party off, crack a few beers open with the lads or glass of wine with the girlfriend or however you like to watch the fights. And I think it is going to be a banger. It's another fight with Fight of the Night potential. And I go with Askarov in this because I think the new blood is going to push through.
Yeah, I hate to go against Joey B. I'm going to have to join you there, Chris. 69% of people have gone for Askarov on Fanatics app. I'm joining them. I'm swinging right.
Just to put this into context of Benavidez's 7 losses, 2 are against all-time great Dominic Cruz, 2 are against all-time great Demetrius Johnson, and 2 are back-to-back against possible future all-time great Figgy. He has 1 loss there to Sergio Pettis as well, but we can leave that one out. But does just show, some people are telling me in the comments like, oh, you can't pick this guy, you can't pick that. Some of these are really hard to pick, but, we're just putting our necks out on the line. It doesn't mean we dislike the fighters. We love all the fighters. But when you've got to make a pick, you've got to make a pick, guys. And it's all for fun. And if you want to know how we make the picks, because some of you guys I'm recognizing out there in the comments are not on the app, get into the App Store, get onto the Play Store, wherever you get your apps, download Fanatics Fantasy MMA, one of the best apps out there. Create groups, join us. There's a Reddit group, Twitter group. There's multiple groups. You can start private groups with your friends. You can have chat in there, banter. You can watch our videos. You can get news. You can get the records of fighters. It's got really good factoids. The graphics in the latest update have got even better. The interface is absolutely fantastic. I don't know who coded that, but give yourself a pat on the back over at Fanatics. Get on the app and see if you can beat us this month. It will be starting on Friday night with 1 championship, and then we'll be going on with UFC and 1 championship.
Yeah, plenty more to come this week, but plenty more fights as well to break down today. We better just keep rolling, otherwise we'll go on forever. Rogerio Bontorin and Kai Kara-France Kick KF is back. More flyweight action, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. With the whole City Kickboxing team seemingly being out in Las Vegas right now, all together. Kai Kara-France must be in a very good position. One of my favorite fighters. I've had the opportunity to see him live in the flesh multiple times. And, he's just one of those fighters who can't really just, hasn't been able to catch a break as of late. Has had a really, really close decision loss to Brandon Moreno. Then got the win against Tyson Nam. And then was close to another title fight if he would have beat Brandon Royval, but unfortunately he lost that. It is a tough fight. This is number 8 versus number 9 again. And this is on the early prelim, so fantastic card. And on this fight, I'm actually going to go with my man, Kai Kara France, to get the decision. But do not sweep on Rogerio Bontorin. He's an absolute fantastic fighter. Great record. I think over in Immortal FC. I think he was champion. I can't remember. Great ground game, great striking, but I'm going to go with Kai Kara France because I do think he has a run to the title in him, especially still at 27.
Yeah, we love KKF here as well. Friend of the show.
100%.
I'm picking KKF. I'm with him all the way. 77% of people have picked him on the app, Fanatics. So I'm joining them. But as you said, it's pretty close, this one. Look at the odds there. But anyway, we move on, Chris.
Yes.
What's next? Okay. Lavinia Souza and Amanda Lemos. Who you got?
Oh, well. Oh, wow. That is interesting to see that Drake Riggs is going for Lavinia Souza. I'm a big fan of Amanda Lemos. I can't remember when she last fought, but I looked into her records and I looked at some of her old title fights back in Jungle Fight. She's the real deal. She's an absolute beast. Quick hands, great ground game. Just a fantastic fighter, and she's got everything I expect to go towards the top in the UFC and climb these rankings. And I feel like Drake has made a bad decision. I think this is actually going to be a fairly one-sided fight when we look back in it in retrospect, because I'm going to back Amanda Lemos to the hilt.
Just shitting on Drake today.
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Let me get the app back up. I'm going to make my pick. Lapido Light has Lemos as well. I'm going... Yeah, I'll follow you on this one, Chris. You convinced me.
You just want an out so that if I get it wrong, you can blame me.
Yeah, exactly. 62% of people are picking her as well. So I'm gonna go with the people on this one. Yeah. Let's go down the show. Tim Elliott, Jordan Espinoza is next up for us. Flyweight bout, Chris. A lot of good flyweights on this show. Who we got here?
Well, this is such a hard fight to call. Tim Elliott, absolute solid competitor. I don't know if he is still with Extreme Couture. I heard he was out training at Glory MMA and Fitness. But anyway, he has been on a bit of a skid of late. He got the win against Ryan Benoit. But before that, he had lost 3 in a row, but to the very top in Davidson Figueiredo, Askar Askarov, and Brandon Royval, which is one hell of a way to come after loss after loss after loss. And it is going to be a tough fight for him out there. He's been a solid competitor in the UFC for about 5 or 6 years now. At age 34, I have to fancy Tim Elliott in this, and I do not know why. I just like his fighting style. I like that he always brings it. He has lost a few times by submission, but I think on this one, I just think Tim Elliott's going to catch him, and he's going to take him out.
All right, well, I'm going to listen to you, Chris, because I'm not really.
I mean, both these guys are 1-3 in their last 4 fights, so this is maybe a kind of the loser gets cut kind of thing. They're not particularly at super young ages, particularly for flyweight, where they do tend to retire a little bit younger. I just think Tim Elliott being in the UFC for much, much longer is probably just going to see him push ahead and get the win over Jordan Espinoza.
Yep. Espinoza, the favorite here. 54% of people have picked him. Still pretty close on the odds. But yeah, hey, this is one of those fights. I might pick up a few points, Chris. So I'm going to go with Mr. Tim Elliott as well.
Why not?
Why not? All right, let us know.
This next fight is the fight I've been waiting for so long. Do you know why, Nick? I just want to hear you pronounce this man's last name. Can we get it once normally and then once slowly?
I was just gonna try. Kennedy Zeshukwu. Did I get that right?
I have no idea.
I am really sorry, Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I'm gonna learn on the broadcast how to pronounce it. But he's up against Carlos Ulberg. Have I even pronounced that one?
Yeah.
Right. Ulberg. Is it not Ulberg? I don't know. I get so many of these
Ulberg,
names wrong. People give it
Carlos
so much.
Ulberg. He fought on the Contender Series back in 2020. He's from New Zealand. He's good friends, City Kickboxing, obviously. He's the guy who looks like a model, super chiseled, fantastic body. And Kennedy himself is a Dana White's Contender Series alum from 2018. He's only managed to fight twice since then with some injuries and changes of training camp. Is now with Fortis MMA. It is really hard. They both pack absolute power. And obviously, Carlos Ulberg only has the 3 fights on his record at age 30, but I think last time I checked, he had something like 40, 50, 60 kickboxing fights on there. So he is well-traveled, well-traversed in the nature of this sport. I believe he can fight both at middleweight and light heavyweight, so he might be slightly undersized. But for this fight, I am well and truly on the City Kickboxing hype train. Eugene Behrman, I call him Daddy. He's the king of the coaches. So I'm going to back Carlos Ulberg all the way to add to the City Kickboxing hype train. So you can have him and Kaiko of France both getting wins as we to add to Izzy's possible win and to add for a really big fortnight for City Kickboxing.
Yeah, Mr. Marvelous. Great nickname as well. How can I
100%.
go against him? I thought he looked really good on the Contender Series, didn't he? So
yeah, definitely 100%. This is one to keep an eye for everyone out there. Your girlfriend might be getting a bit googly-eyed when watching him on the screen because, what top 5, top 3 most handsome guys out there in the UFC right now.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean,
hard to look at Rockhold the same way anymore after all those knockouts. Anyway, not as attractive when you have to clean you up off the canvas. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh dear. Well, Simbarash is going City Kickboxing all day, Team Ulberg. So yeah, well, only 46% of people on the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app have gone with Mr. Marvelous, Chris.
Yeah.
Even though, he's minus 240 here. 54.
Well, it's his official UFC debut.
Yeah, it's his debut. A lot of people think they can pick up some points here, Chris, including the pedo like 2009. So, yeah, no one's stopping you. You think this guy, you think Ulberg's going to lose, you're going to get some points here. It's going to help you move up that leaderboard. It's going to help you embarrass me and Chris on Fanatics Fantasy MMA. And I'm happy to announce, guys, by the way, there's prizes available this month for the first time. And we will backdate some prizes to the winners from January and February, including Jasmine, who smashed everyone, I think, in January, but had not so good a month in February, did she, Chris? But she's going to look to bounce back in March, no doubt.
Definitely.
Sean Brady, Jake Matthews, another Aussie. Those guys, the Aussies and the Kiwis are running riot on this show. They always stack those Izzy cards with these dudes from Anzac. 100%. And here we go. Jake Matthews looked pretty good, didn't he, against Diego Sanchez? But arguably, could have been a bit more ruthless there. This is a more. We're going to find out what he's really made of, I think, here, aren't we, Chris?
Sean Brady, 100%. Jake Matthews, remember, he is an absolute beast. One of the best fighters, even to come out of Oceania. He is right up there. Probably is maybe deserving of some sort of ranking. I mean, you do look at his record, and he has fantastic wins over some absolutely fantastic fighters. He has wins over the Leech himself, I believe. Beat Diego Sanchez, obviously, recently, but obviously not the Diego Sanchez we know. But he's really been on a turn. He's only ever really lost to the top people within the UFC. He has a loss against James Vick, Kevin Lee. I believe he has a loss as well to Anthony Rocco Martin. But obviously, Sean Brady is just someone who has the hype all around him. all I'm ever hearing is good stuff about him, how fantastic he is, what an athlete he is. Just, as well, he's coming out of that famous fighting city. They've given us people like Eddie Alvarez, like the greatest of all time, Rocky Balboa, fighting out of Philly. So with that, I'm going to tip the hat and I'm going to say Sean Brady is here. And he's not just here, he's here to go all the way up, to challenge, to shake up the division, and to push onwards and upwards, because this guy really has to be starting to get pushed into the top 15.
Part of me thinks Jake Matthews here, Chris, is being overlooked a little bit. Is that fair?
He is being overlooked, and I think a lot of people are not realizing what a fantastic athlete he is, what a fantastic fighter he is, and he's only ever really lost to the top fighters. I know he has that loss against James Vick, but that's not the James Vick we're seeing now. That was a James Vick very, very close to the peak of his powers.
27% of people with Jake Matthews. He's plus 175. I'm going for this. Is going to be my big upset pick here, Chris, of the night. I'm going right for Jake Matthews. You're gonna call me crazy, maybe. Sometimes I am a little crazy, and it could bomb hard, and I could be regretting that one. But that's the nature of the game, Chris. You cannot win 100%. If you do not play. Orosh Medish against Elon Cruz. I hope I pronounced both these right. Yeah. Euros Medish.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually pronounce it Medic. I know he represents the doctor himself. I know he represents Serbia, but he's fought most of his career in Alaska. He does say he fights out of Anchorage, Alaska. I didn't know there was that many good fighters in Alaska, but he was undefeated in Alaska FC, Alaska Fighting Championships. Had won the belt over there. He fought a guy called Mikey in the Contender Series back in November. Another Contender Series alone. So sometimes I can't remember everything from the Contender Series, I only tend to remember the ones who get the really good finishes. If I think it was a knockout with ground and pound. I think he's finished all of his fights by finish. It definitely is going to be a hard one for Alan Cruz, who himself came out of the Contender Series in 2019, then went on to lose by ground and pound in his opening fight in the UFC. Urusmed's just impressed me so much in that Contender Series fight. Maybe it's the same thing with Carlos Solberg. I might be getting confused because when I do see fighters in the Contender Series, I tend to back them the same way me and you were absolutely digging up Impika Sangasai going into the Buckley fight.
Yeah.
So
and now he's fighting Sasha. So,
that's going to be one hell of a fight. I'm going to back Uros Medic here.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. Uros Medic. I'm swinging left. 81% of people on the app, Fanatics, have picked him. So, I mean, I'm playing it safe there. Lapido Light is urging me not to take Jake Matthews. Don't do it. I am now tempted to switch to Sean Brady. Is it still flip-flopping if I do it? We're still on the show, so it doesn't count, right? I can flip-flop to Brady. All right, I've done it. All right, we got one more fight for this card. Mario Batista and Trevin Jones, straight out of Guam. Had that awesome debut, didn't he? But then it was changed to a no contest, I think, because he popped for weed, and then they've changed those rules again now. He's looking to show that wasn't a freak fight, that it wasn't he's not a one-hit wonder, isn't he, Chris?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's such an odd fight because you've got Mario Batista, who's a top fighter, used to fight in LFA, joined the UFC, lost to Corey Sandhagen in his promotional debut, which can be quite a hard promotional debut against such a good fighter. He's a really good fighter, super quick hands, can finish with submissions, fairly good wrestling. He then fought Miles Jones, Sujin So, got 2 wins there. Trevin Jones is a bit of an odd one because he's one of those people that's been based out of Guam. Was in Pacific Extreme Combat Fighting Championships. Then he had this thing where I think he went to what's it called, Absolute Championship Berkut over in Russia. He had a fight over there. He had fought, I think, for Deep in Japan. I think he might have fought for Heat as well in Japan. And has seemingly fought all over the place. That might be owing out, fighting out of Japan. It is a really, really hard fight to call. This really is a toss-up. I am probably just gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Mario Batista. It's a tough one, but I think he is the favorite. He's probably got a little bit more resume. He's been in the UFC a little bit longer. Probably more used to the protocol. And I'm going to go with that because I just want to start my night off and my picks off with a good solid win before, as I usually do. I usually start the night off with a good two or three wins, and then I get a big wall of red. So, yeah, I'm going to back Mario Bautista.
Oh, I'm going for Trevin Jones. I don't know why. There's something about him I like, and I like those odds there. Plus 195. Only 19% of people have picked him. I think I could get off to a surprise start there. The Peter Light going for Jones too. 5-star, baby. Trevin Jones. I'm going for this one. All right. Those are all our picks. I hope you enjoyed that. We still got a bit of time. Chris, I guess we could chat some of the topics. John already covered it, in his show earlier this morning, but I do want to talk a little bit about Overeem and JDS have been cut, sadly. End of an era for both men, really. Both men such legends in the UFC and in the sport.
I think on some level it's very sad them cutting the both of them. I mean, Overeem is a legend of the sport, a legend of the UFC, among other organizations such as Strikeforce and Pride, the UFC own. Probably a future Hall of Famer. JDS is a former heavyweight champion of the world, the baddest man on the planet. And that era with like him, Verdum and Kane is probably the best heavyweight era we have ever seen in the UFC, in terms of entertainment and the boat changing hands and how everyone could beat each other. I think them both being released on the same way is a little bit disrespectful. I think they both decided to ride off into the sunset separately, even if they would have just waited 24 hours, 48 hours. I feel like they shouldn't be coupled together. JDS, the current version of him anyway, is not really the JDS we used to see. He's lost the speed. He doesn't really throw much anymore. And I mean, he's coming off 4 losses in a row. And you can't really compare that to what Overeem's done lately. And I know he's come off back-to-back losses, but he's, I think he's won 6 of his last 8. Of his last 10, he's won 6 and lost 4. It's the first time, I think, in this run in the UFC, he has had back-to-back losses. I know he's been on a lot of money and on that big contract, but he probably deserved to sail off in a better way. It'd be very interesting to see where they both end up now. Bare knuckle, we're not surprising with JDS. He's talked about boxing for years and years and years. He's wanted to fight Roy Jones Jr., etc., Vitor, whatever. Maybe that's for him. Maybe a boxing match is for him. And then Alistair Overeem, I mean, I don't think he can maybe win a title in any major organization. But he can definitely go and create a stir there or go for the really top, probably more so than JDS. Like, say, if Bellator were to have a heavyweight Grand Prix or one champ, I could see Overeem getting really far to the final, maybe even winning it. I don't think JDS has what it takes, maybe even to progress, maybe past the first round if they give him a pick him. But I think most of these other organizations have a lot of talent that's probably better than him, because JDS was probably slipping out of that top 15 while Overeem was probably around number 10. And it's where they go from here that's the really interesting thing.
Agree with you completely, Chris. You think, one championship, is that somewhere we could see the Reem or Ryzen? Would you like to see?
Ryzen could be good. Bellator could be good. Obviously, he's huge in Japan. His brother was big in Japan. He fought over in Pride. He fought in Dreams. He fought in K1 over there. Huge in the Asian market. So what he could work for one. Him or JDS could go into a one Grand Prix with all the heavyweights they are getting now. I would probably prefer Overeem over Brandon Vera due to Brandon Vera's inactivity. I think it would be a fantastic fight to go straight in for the belt. It would be to have both of them if they really want to draw a lot of eyes to one championship anytime soon. Bellator possibility. They can co-promote with Ryzen. They could have him fight Fedor over in Japan, which would be a huge fight. He could fight Rampage over in Japan. That would be a huge fight. So many guys there. They're all legends of the game. One championship would be great for either of them. I think as well, the thing that you get with one championship is if you look at one championship and all these great Dutch fighters they have in kickboxing, in Muay Thai, in MMA, your Peter Boyst, your De Ridder, your Nicky Holtzkin. I think Overeem, to add to all those other Dutch guys, like imagine having Overeem and De Ridder together, because Overeem's such a big star. We could see De Ridder has 7,000 Instagram followers. Him and Overeem fighting on the same card would see him get to 50,000 just in Holland alone, I believe, because he is such a big name. Ryzen's a possibility for sure. Leopard Delight, because there could be a Grand Prix, open weight fights, freak show fights. Ryzen definitely could market him. And, you look at Crow Cop and when he went to Ryzen and really good end to the end of his career, and they gave him the right level of opponent, and he looked much bigger when he left the UFC. Crow Cop, he looked more cut, he looked more lean. Read into my comments what you like. The drug testing might not be as good over there, or more lenient anyway. So you never know, and you do see it sometimes. The guys that leave the UFC and they look great again because they're back on all the juice. JDS probably boxing. I would not like to see JDS really. I don't think Ryzen have much use for him. I don't think Bellator have much use for him. The PFL is a no-go because of their season format. JDS you could see going over to one. It's going to be much harder for JDS, I think. Just because he is. Yeah, just coming off 4 losses. And not like Yoel, where Yoel was fighting the top guys. It's every loss has progressively been to a worse opponent.
I think one would be very wise to try and get Overeem at least, and JDS as well. But I think Overeem would bring a lot of eyes, like you said. A lot of interest in him. Whenever we do any interviews with him, always does great traffic. Asia, I think Asia, for Reem either way.
I have to say one thing though, and then you look at the losses on JDS's records. I've got it up now. Sergey, Rosenstrike, Blades, and Garnu, and then before that was Stipe. And then you look, they're all the top guys right now.
Yeah, I just don't think he's ever gonna make another run, and the Reem as well. I think so. I wouldn't have cut them, but this is a brutal sport, isn't it? Or UFC is.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't show much room for sentiment sometimes. Maybe.
If I was one championship, if I was Chatri, I'd get out the weighing machine and I'd think, I've got all these good Dutch fighters, I've got all these Brazilian fighters, I've got good American fighters, and then I've signed legends in Demetrius Johnson, Vitor Belfort, and Eddie Alvarez from the American sport to promote my other American athletes, like a Troy Warwerven, like a Lowen Tainanes, like a Gary Tonin. And you could do something very similar with, having Overeem with De Ridder and Nicky Holtzkin, to really push the Dutch market. And you could really have JDS with Adriano Moraes and Bibiano Fernandes to really push those Brazilian guys. I mean, was it Moraes only just got his first ever sponsorship deal about 6 months ago?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Lapido Light here saying it's kind of disrespectful to cut them. Should have let them fight their contracts out. I agree 100%.
I think JDS coming off 4 losses is probably worth it. And you do have to remember, isn't Overeem on about close? Isn't he on about 600,000-700,000 US guaranteed a fight? He has no win and no show money, and that's from his Strikeforce contract.
I think he deserves more respect. I mean, the man came out when I was in Busan with John for UFC Fight Night, December 2019. The man flew out to Korea a week after he had his lip busted by Jairzinho, and he came and got the plastic surgery, came and did the media duties for that week. That's the dedicated man. That's a company man, right? I'm sure he got paid well for it, but that shows his dedication to the company. And he says the UFC has always treated me really well. That's why when they asked me to come to Asia, I did it. That is a long way for him to fly and be away from his family. And I'd like to see that respect go two ways. I think they've done him dirty there a little bit. Or maybe, we don't know behind the scenes what happened with him. He might have asked for it. I'm not sure.
We do have to remember as well, Overeem is an absolute legend of the game. You know, you have to think it was, 2000, 2001, 2002. He was winning the K1 Grand Prix in kickboxing. He won the Strikeforce Heavyweight Championship, the Dream Heavyweight Championship. He also, I believe, won... did he win the Pride Middleweight Grand Prix, or did he get to the final twice? Like, he has done some phenomenal things in the sport. And, you know, even back then when he was a middleweight, he was always jumping up to heavyweight and fighting bigger guys. Have had the pleasure to meet him. He's a nice guy. He's a gentle giant. He's got those hands that tend to wrap around your hands when you shake his hand. Really nice, real straightforward. He has got that Dutch kind of, you know, look you straight in the eyes. Yeah. What I say is the truth, nothing but the truth. So help your ass. And yeah, I just hope them both on to big win better. You know, Overeem's just turned 40, so it's not like they're super old or at the end of the careers. JDS is 37. They could definitely fight on for 1, 2, or 3 more years at the right level.
Yes, I agree with you. I hope they land on their feet, both of them. Keep in mind, the UFC also cut Anderson Silva. The UFC is brutal, says Lepido Line. Yep. I don't know why I'm surprised, Chris. I completely forgot how they did the Spider so dirty, not 6 months ago, was it? And look what's happened to him. He's not landed anywhere, I don't think.
No.
Everyone just kind of said, oh, we don't want him. Do you think this could be a similar case where, one, Bellator don't want to be seen as picking up the UFC scraps and their cast-offs?
I think Anderson Silva's totally different because he's got about 1 win in his last 7. I can probably say the same for JDS, but Overeem's still right up there. He is, in my opinion, if I had to get 7th or 8th in my rankings in the UFC, which, let's be honest, if you're 8th in the UFC, you're top 15 in the world, you're probably top 5 in any other organization. So I don't think Overeem would be a bad decision. I mean, this is a guy who's been fighting since the 90s. You know, what was K1's trash became Pride's treasure, which became Pride's trash, became Strikeforce's treasure, which became Strikeforce's trash, which became Dream's treasure. There you go, the whole way around.
The merry-go-round. Yeah, well, we'll see where they land. Hopefully, both of them can find a nice home if they still want to fight. I get the feeling they do. I don't think Overeem has commented yet, but JDS put out a statement on his Instagram. Maybe try and bring it up. Yeah, sad to see him go either way, but I do think there wasn't much left for him to do in the UFC, and it was getting a bit sad for me seeing him lose to all these guys, and you know, he was really never gonna get himself back where he wanted to be, I think, Chris.
Yeah, and you know, the only sad thing as well is that he only ever really got 1 crack at the heavyweight championship in the UFC, despite, you know, pretty much being there for about a decade.
Here we go. JDS being very nice and gracious and humble, saying thank you, the UFC, for a great 12 years. I fought through MMA's murderer's road to get my shot at the belt. Holding and defending it was one of the great honors of my life. Thanks to every opponent. Thanks to every fan and critic. I'm going to spend some time back at the drawing board, but I'm excited to move on. There we go. He's not done yet, Chris, is he? I don't think Alistair's commented. I'll just have a look. But, all the best to JDS. Stand-up guy by all accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, we're Overeem. There is nothing on his Instagram, so who knows? I anxiously await his comment. I imagine it's got to be quite sad, hasn't it, Chris? Whatever,
100%.
Whatever they say. But yeah, look, we better wrap this one up here. Thanks for
Definitely.
watching, everyone.
And
And
if anyone out there needs cheering up, just 2 things you can do. Actually, 3 things. First, like and subscribe to South China Morning Post here on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. Number 2, if you want cheering up, go check out Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping. A fantastic bromance in the making. Maybe Bisping will become his coach and lead them to the title for the second part of Bisping the movie. Who knows? And then part 3, come and join us all in the app, an MMA Fanatics app, Play Store, Apple App Store. You can find us anywhere, even the Huawei store, which I don't know the name of. Download the app. Come and test your nous out against us. Find out how good you compare to us on your picks. We do one championship UFC. When April comes around, for sure, we're probably going to be adding Bellator to our picks. And there you go, guys. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for the comments. Thank you for the fan interaction. And we know it's been a long day with John's show earlier, and we'll be back later for all you guys who want your ONE FC fix.
Yeah, I think we'll be back in about an hour or so, hour and a half. We need a break, though. I need to eat breakfast. I haven't eaten at all today. So yeah, if you're still awake wherever you are in the world, or you can't get enough of SCMP MMA, we'll be back in a bit to make our picks for one Fist of Fury over from Singapore, which was recorded a week ago. Almir Ali Akbari making his debut there. We'll see you there if you can join us. If not, we'll be back tomorrow in some form. Drake's going to be covering the UFC 259 press conference tonight, overnight, whatever it is in America. I'm so lost between all the time zones, but just keep it on SCMP MMA, guys. We got content every day this week. There's Fists of Fury Fight Companion as well tomorrow. Yeah. There's UFC. Oh, I can't even begin to cover it all. Just keep tuning in, guys. Turn on those notifications if you want for the live shows. You never miss a show if you don't want to. But yeah, we're out of here for now. We'll see you again a bit later. Thank you so much.